I would describe Brian Fuller as a very nerdy guy who's into toys and obscure jazz and has a lot of ailments, I guess. Maybe a little bit of a hypochondriac. I did identify with him in a lot of ways. I also have a lot of ailments. I don't think that I'm a hypochondriac, but you never know, right? And I love obscure jazz and toys. So actually, I guess I identify with almost all of them. We were having a Christmas party at my house, and Sean asked if he could invite his friend Mara, who was the casting director of Gilmore Girls. So I met Mara at that party, and we hit it off, and she was like, I'm going to get you onto the show. And so over the next several months, I came in to audition 3 times, and the 3rd time I got Brian. Sean and I have known each other for almost 30 years. We met in 1993 at university. My freshman year, it was his sophomore year. He's a year older than me. And we've been confidants ever since. And actually, you know, back then, if you had told us, hey, in the future you guys are going to be on a television show together, we would have probably assumed it was a show that we wrote and that we created. We would never have guessed that it would be Gilmore Girls. Our first season on the show, the last episode where we're in that big house party and the big fight breaks out. And there's a scene there with Brian where he has got low blood sugar or something.
You ready to go on, guys?
Only if Brian rallies.
What's wrong, Brian?
I don't feel good. It's his heartburn again.
I told you, dude, it's your citrus intake. Stop eating oranges.
And I actually I was shooting that line and legitimately was feeling faint because I had been eating a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over the course of like an hour. I just ate too many of them. And I think it was because in the scene I was supposed to be eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and I was going to pass out. So as I was saying the line, like, I've got really low blood sugar, and then we were like cutting, people were like, are you okay though? Like you really do look like you're about to faint. I was like, I know, I really am about to faint. My favorite moment playing Brian was the scene where I come home and Lane and Zach are on a date and I don't really realize it, and I sit down between them and I'm watching and stuff.
This is where we left off last night.
What are you doing?
Watching TV.
Brian, this is a date.
And then get sent to the room, and then pass out in the room, and then of course the epic, him picking me up and the kiss at her bedroom door with me slung over his shoulder.
Okay, well, I had a really good time.
Me too.
For which we shot like 10 times. My gut, like his shoulder in my gut, it was super painful, but I knew it was going to be awesome, and it was awesome. Hands down, one of my favorite like moments of the band in the series, and so fun to shoot. Working with Keiko and Todd was basically like working with my buddies. I mean, because we were buddies, and we still are buddies, on set, off set. So it was cool. We'd have to rehearse all of those musical performances. We rehearsed them off set. So we actually felt like a real band, and we were rehearsing not with with a couple of producers from the show, but in an environment that felt just totally like not Gilmore Girls. And so I think that we just developed that bond of a little band independent of the show, and so it felt like a group of buddies hanging out, and we kept that throughout the show and in the years after the show. I mean, it's been over a decade since the show ended, and we're still all really close. Sebastian Bach always brought the hair metal like to every rehearsal. I mean, he was amazing. He's funny. First of all, he's just like he's like a natural. He's got natural comic timing, and so before we even met him, we were already like, ooh, what's this gonna be? He just fit in perfectly. He became like a fast friend, and he was at all those rehearsals with us as well, and it was sort of surreal. This guy who, that I sort of looked at as like a huge star when I was a kid, was suddenly like one of my band buddies. It was surreal, but it was awesome. I feel like I get more people identify with Brian about his sort of geekiness, his nerdiness, and his love of like, geekdom and obscure things, his love of toys and likely sci-fi and fantasy. At the last fan festival that I was at, a little girl came up to me and just wanted to talk about Stranger Things. I genuinely think Brian would probably be totally into Stranger Things and totally theorizing, like, is Hopper dead? Is he not? So I got really into it. And that's because I'm actually really into Stranger Things. Again, I mean, Brian and I, yeah. I think Gilmore Girls is such a beloved show, even now, 20 years after it first aired. I think it's because of the world of Stars Hollow. I think that world is still, that little mini universe that was created there, still feels alive, and it still feels like it exists. So people, of course, want to keep returning to it because it was such a magical place. I think Brian would be in technology somehow. I think he'd be the wealthiest of that band. I think I'd be like a Zuckerberg. Brian, yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe. Or he'd be telling he's going to be the next Zuckerberg.